Instead of delaying your CPP, Canadian pension plan, until 70, what if you started it at 60 and invested the payments? We actually covered this topic a few months ago, and based on the example we used in that video, it didn't really make sense to start CPP at 60 and invest it. However, that video was based on an employee. But what if you're self-employed? Since self-employed individuals have to pay double into CPP, would the answer change? One of our viewers emailed me with this concern and was convinced that taking CPP at 60 would be best for him and for many of you watching. I want to run through a few scenarios in our software and see if a self-employed person might actually be better off starting CPP at 60 and investing it rather than waiting all the way till 70. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to cover here is Ken's email and what he had mentioned, because I think a lot of you are watching this video, sitting at home, reviewing your Canadian pension plan information, and you might fall into this thought process. So let me go through Ken's email, and then I'll go through some scenarios in Snap Projections. And I think where the biggest fall is that a lot of you believe that I think CPP at 70 makes the most sense, to the point where people have messaged me saying that I work for the Canadian pension plan and want people to delay till 70 so that people don't collect it earlier and get more. Look, the reality is I'm a financial planner and our team does retirement plans for Canadians. Our job as a firm is to make sure that you have the best path forward. I don't care when you take your CPP. I just care that you're educated around the different options. And so when Ken emailed me this, I wanted to work through the Snap Projection software that we use and see when does it make most sense. Based on his assumptions, based on the data that he provides here, which I'll share, does it make sense for Ken to take his CPP at 60? Because his friend that worked at the Canadian pension plan seemed to think so. Hi Adam, your CPP YouTube analysis is excellent and very professional. My friend was a senior in Canadian pension plan and she recommends, almost always recommended, to take it early. Your analysis correctly calculates the increased value of delaying the benefit and collecting the larger amounts at 90. Good luck. Well, good luck living till 90, but at the end of the day, if you're 60 to 65 years old in Canada, life expectancy is mid to late 80s. If you're married or common law, there's a over 50% chance that one of you actually lives into your 90s. So good luck, but the data actually shows no, if you are married or common law, the reality is that probably one of you will live into your 90s. So again, we need to look at real life expectancy. And I'm going to have a video very soon on life expectancy, the recent data, and what you actually need to plan around when it comes to life expectancy for your retirement plan. What's missing is when you take your benefit early, an individual stops paying CPP premiums. In 2025, that is over $4,000 a year and $40,000 savings over 10 years. And for self-employed individuals who must pay the employer contribution, that is another $4,000 per year, or a total of $8,000 a year. Over 10 years, that's $80,000 difference. $80,000 invested for 25 years at 5%, tax deferred in the stock market, is quite a big number, much larger than $100,000 savings in your calculation. And I must state, Ken also copied a few of his friends. So obviously he's got, a golfing group or whatever it is that gets together and chats about this. And I think this is really common. And this is where a lot of you take financial advice from your golfing buddy, from your friend, from someone in your sewing club, whoever it is, that doesn't really understand the nuances and has never actually created a proper retirement plan. So this is where I say, be cautious who and where you get your information from. Again, run information through software. Look at different scenarios. This is what you want to do. There's no right or wrong, especially when it comes to proper software, proper data. Put the information in software, have a financial planner that's trained in working with the software, run it for you, and get the proper answer. After Ken's email, I went back to him and said, look, I'll run the calculation for you, but I'm pretty certain that delaying to CPP still makes sense. Delaying all the way till 70, which he came back to me and said there's not a chance, basically. So there was a bit of back and forth. So again, I wanted to run the software. Now, a couple issues with the information he put in his original email is, even if you delay your CPP till 70 and you're self-employed, at 65, you can stop paying into CPP. So for the assumption, we're going to say, look, if you started at 70 and you have to pay into double CPP, it's from 60 to 65, not all the way till 70, but we also won't increase the post-retirement benefit in this scenario. Secondly, if you take it early, yes, you're going to get more money, but does that actually offset the benefit of delaying? Let's jump into the software. So here's John and Andrea YouTube, a 60-year-old couple here in 2025. And so this will map out the scenario properly. Now, I want to go through Andrea. So Andrea is no longer working. She's drawing down her RSP. When I do an apples to apples comparison, I don't change anything on her side. Now on John's side, he has $100,000 of self-employment income. Now, this situation, we have delayed CPP all the way till 70, and you can see that number, $32,259 at age 70, increased because of the delay. You can also see the CPP EI payments are double because he is self-employed and he's going to have to pay into this. So we can see here in the software, I've said to pay CPP premiums for the employee and the employer. So that's where that number comes from. Now, two other data points in this scenario that I want to highlight is projected age to 85. Like I said, the reality is probably John or Andrea will live beyond 85, probably into their 90-95, but I wanted to be conservative. 85 isn't realistic based on data, but hey, it's very conservative. The reality is if delaying CPP till 70 makes sense at 85, it's going to make sense even more at any age past that as well. The other thing that we put in here is for government benefits. So we're saying that at age 65, he's almost at 100%, and as well as age 60. So what I mean by that is if he starts taking his Canadian pension plan at age 60, which I'll show you here in a second, he's almost at 100% max. Well, that's not also the reality for most of you. As you pay more between 60 and 65, your CPP benefit when you collect it is going to increase. So again, I've been ultra conservative in two areas, life expectancy and amount he's paid into CPP, both leaning into Ken's direction, saying, look, I want to create a scenario that actually does work for you. I'm trying to lean into his side to help support his thought process in his email to me. So based on his $100,000 of income, not collecting CPP, and paying double into the CPP EI, you can see that as we move forward here, he's contributing a little bit to his RSP over time, anything that's available. Now, what we've done is we've allocated $80,000 of income after tax in their pocket adjusted to inflation all the way down to age 95. And we've done this in the other scenario as well to have a true apples to apples comparison. Now we can see based on the assets that John and Andrea have here, if they live all the way to age 85, they will have $623,000 left in their accounts, which would all be in their TFSA account if they did a proper RSP meltdown, which again, I've done in both scenarios. So I really want to compare an apples to apples here. So 80,000, this is taking CPP at 70. And Ken's concern was validated in a way that, look, if I don't take my CPP early, I'm not collecting it, true. CPP is $0 for the next 10 years. And I'm also paying, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 into CPP. So it's a double whammy. I'm not only not collecting it, but I'm also paying into it. And the way I've created this scenario, those payments, which is, let's call it $9,000 times 5 years, that's a lot of money. And it's not really even increasing his benefit. So it's really like this should be helping him, but you'll see that it doesn't really. So here's the exact same scenario, but we're gonna run it like Ken wanted to. So we've started CPP at age 60, and you can see there's no more CPP payments for John going in. So not only is he now collecting $99.55, but he's also not paying $9,000 into CPP. So it's a $20,000 swing. That's the way he views it. So he says, look, that's $20,000 more in my pocket. But there's more to the calculation. You have to look at your other assets you have, the melting down, the tax deferral on CPP, taking it later. There's a lot of different moving parts, and this is where a lot of people go wrong. Ken is looking at his Canadian pension plan in a silo. And if you look at it in a silo, you'll look at the benefit or drawback in a silo and not incorporate it with everything else. And this is why I've been on this channel for over 3 years saying, when you build a retirement plan, if you look at things in a silo, you will pay more tax, you will put less money back in your pocket, and you just won't have as much to spend in retirement. And that's the majority of you watching this video. You look at your RSP, you look at your CPP, old age security, your pension, your downsizing your house, whatever it is, and you look at everything on an individual silo. Again, if you're looking at your Canadian pension plan when the break-even point is, for 99% of you, you're not able to do that properly unless you have access to really good software. The break-even point has to incorporate everything else you have going on. That's the true break-even point. If you look at it just on a CPP calculator, it doesn't give you a true break-even point. And that's where a lot of you fail. So again, make sure you build your retirement plan where everything comes together. Don't look at a retirement plan as a silo. And this is what Ken's done, and it's failed him at the end of the day. So going back to Ken's scenario, yes, he's collecting CPP. Yes, you can see he's putting more into his RSP, but is he better off? And if we look at this exact same apples to apples comparison, we can see that $80,000 per year after tax. And if we run it down, you can see he has $383,000 left in his estate after tax. Well, that compares to over $600,000 had he delayed until 70. So quick math there shows you that taking CPP cost him over $250,000 out of his estate. Now I know the reality is I'm going to get an email the day after this video comes out and Ken's going to say, yeah, but you didn't think about this or you put this in different. So I'll try and run through a few scenarios that a lot of you might be thinking about of saying, yeah, but what about this, Adam? So let's jump into the software and just work through a few of these things and hopefully answer a lot of your concerns. Again, I don't have any skin in this game. I don't care when you take your CPP. I care that you see these illustrations and examples to get a really good picture of like, there's more to this than just simply taking your CPP number or, you know, if I don't pay into CPP double and then I collect it, I got 20 grand extra in my pocket and multiply that times 10 years. Like that's not proper math when it comes to retirement planning. That is simple math, which does not work with retirement plans. So here's a direct comparison looking at CPP at 60 versus CPP at 70. So you can see the lifetime expenses, which is how much we're collecting, stays the same, that $80,000 adjusted for inflation. You can see taking CPP at 70, we're paying a little bit more tax, $36,000 of tax. But remember, we have the same amount after tax in our pocket for spending. So yes, I don't like the idea that we're paying more tax, but if I have the same amount of money after tax in my pocket, I'm okay with that, especially when I look down at the estate after tax. A total estate of over $2 million if I delay my CPP, it's under $1.8 million if I don't, a $239,000 difference. If we switch that to real dollars, it's still over $100,000, $129,000 in real dollars. So that's a big difference in estate. And you can see it's those financial assets. That's your TFSA that's left. 383 versus 623. Now, the first thing someone's gonna say is, yeah, Adam, but that's age 85. What if I died age 80? Well, let's take a quick look. We can grab any age, click save, and here we go. So again, tax difference is now less because we've died a little bit earlier. You can see government benefits. I'm getting, sure, I'm paying $6,800 more in tax, but government benefits, so Canadian pension plan and old age security, I'm collecting $211,000 more from the government if I delay my CPP. That is a massive amount difference. So a lot of you think taking it earlier, you're going to get more. Look, this is both people dying at 80, $200,000 difference. You can see the financial assets, even at age 80, there's almost $16,000 more in assets at life expectancy of age 80. So even if you died earlier, and again, the chances that a couple both dies by age 80 is very small, like single digit percentage. The estate after tax, again, still $17,000. Now, if we looked at it the other way and mapped it out to 90 or 95, delaying CPP is going to have even that much more of an impact. Now, another thing you want to look at is rate of return. Obviously, rate of return is going to play a factor here. So I've mapped this at 5% rate of return with inflation at 2.5. Well, you might think, yeah, but Adam, 5% rate of return, I can get that no problem. What about if I got 8%? Like, if I'm not paying into CPP, collecting CPP, I have all that money earlier. I need a better rate of return. So let's look at an 8% rate of return. So if we run the same scenario and put the rate of return on both scenarios, CPP at 60 or 70 at an 8% return, we can see that, again, income, lifetime expenses, exact same. We're getting a little bit more taxes paid, $35,000, but we're getting $430,000. This is to age 85. Again, age 90, 95, that number is going to balloon even more. We're getting almost $500,000 more from the government in government benefits. Don't we all want more money from the government? Like, we pay them so much already. I think part of your retirement plan should be, how do I get the most out of the government, right? Like, how do I get my money back to me, both from CPP and then government benefit in old age security? And again, estate after tax, $44,000 more in the client's pocket if they get 8% rate of return and delay it until age 70. So as the rate of return goes up, the narrowing of estate definitely comes tighter together. But now you have to go get 8% consistently year over year, work to get that rate of return. On the other hand, you could just delay your CPP till 70 and not worry about the rate of return, not worry about that stressor in retirement. So again, yes, in theory, from a very high level with simplistic view, if you take your CPP at 60, you're going to start collecting that money earlier, and you can stop paying into CPP, meaning that you're saving about $10,000, close to $10,000 a year if you're self-employed, making both the employee and the employer payment. So you think, well, that's $20,000 in my pocket. Even times the 5 years, that's $100,000 in my pocket that I can now invest. But you can see, when you look at things outside just that sliver window of CPP and actually open it up to the rest of your financial assets, it makes sense to delay. And I played with this scenario with different assets. You know, if John and Andrew at YouTube had more assets, less assets, how does this kind of map out? It worked the same. The numbers were a little bit different, but it always came out ahead for them to delay it. This is, I think, a very unrealistic on the conservative side. I'll say on Ken's side of the equation, being that CPP was pretty much maxed out at 60, which for most of you is not the case. I put life expectancy to age 85, which is not realistic. It should be a little bit longer than that. Again, if I put CPP at, say, 80-85% at age 60 and increasing more if they pay into age 65, and I increase life expectancy to 90 or 95 as a couple, the benefit delaying your CPP in this scenario is going to balloon that much more. And again, I don't want to go the extreme the other way. I actually wanted to go to the extreme on Ken's side because I was hoping it would work out for him, but unfortunately it didn't. This is why it's important to take the information, take your thought process, meet with your financial planner, and get the data put together. Because at the end of the day, you need to have your numbers put through proper software with someone that knows what they're doing with an unbiased approach. And that's what we do here. Like, I was actually really hoping that Ken's email would multiply or come out to his favor. And I didn't think it would, and it didn't. I talked to my team and they weren't surprised either. Again, we come across this stuff on a daily basis. So make sure you understand how your CPP integrates with everything else you have going on to maximize your retirement.